Hey, aloha, and welcome. The Spirit of Sports on notpods.com coming soon. I say that, and it's true. Just finding the time, kind of stressful, thinking about having to do this every single day, putting together the show, getting the info, watching the shows, watching the internet for news, and finding the time balance with the kid and work when I can make enough money to not have to work and this is the job, it'll be that much smoother and better. For now, putting all my effort and time into it. Today's show, The Spirit of Sports. We're talking sports, we're talking life, we're talking NFL all day, every day. A little bit of NCAA. Major League Baseball coming, playoffs. Definitely be following that. But today's show, one of my favorite segments, my original show, That's What He Said, where I look at the professional prognosticators and their picks, their advice, how they're doing, put their picks up against my picks, and talk a lot of fantasy football live, or fantasy live show on NFL Network. They're really not very good. We'll go through the numbers there. Week one, they hit 28%. And I've said, and it still bugs me, an hour-long show, and they will talk about maybe 30 to 40 players, 25, 30 even. Almost like one player a minute at the most. They'll do a whole get up and set up a whole start and sit type thing, or what'd you think, higher, lower, all that. Then they'll pick three guys, and Cynthia Freeland will say, I think he's going to go lower because blah, blah, blah. And how about give me 10 or 15 guys, and I'll go higher on him. Lower, higher, lower. Mahomes, 3 touchdowns, lower. Josh Allen, 270 yards, higher. I don't need to pontificate. I don't need to hear your reasoning. We need content. So, for some reason, I still watch. Now I watch because I'm calling them out. But week one, the Fantasy Live crew was 28%. They got right. Out of their 39, they had 54 different players that they predicted. They got 15 right and they got 39 wrong. So if you play fantasy football and you're listening to the Fantasy Live crew, Adam Rank, Cynthia Freeland, and the rest, probably not doing that great. You know, I'm 500 this year, but I don't claim to be a pro. I do it for fun and I want to win and I'm pretty good, but I don't have a show every week that all I do is fantasy football and try to tell you guys advice. Actually, I stay out of the advice business in fantasy football. So we'll get into that. We'll talk about every week I do my NFL picks straight up with the spread, over under. We'll talk about that. Not much from under the hood. When we do have controversy, we will delve deep into that because you know it's coming, that they're going to overturn a call that's obvious and overturn it after looking at it for 3 minutes. And then we're going to see if there was 82% of the money was on that team that benefited from the crap call. So nothing too egregious yet for under the hood. Definitely we'll delve into that as the season goes. Sunday, I got kicked off. I was showing Red Zone and calling the plays along with it, trying to do my 24-hour talkathon. I got to put that off. I need to be watching and paying more attention. I can't be live during football. Maybe I'll call a college game here and there. Maybe I'll call a Sunday night game or something. But doing the talkathon, I think I'm going to have to put that off until the day that I can quit my job out here in sunny Hawaii. I'm not going to tell you exactly where the palm trees sway. As soon as I can quit my job and wear slippers every day, the very first day after that, I will do 24 hours straight talkathon. Until then, I got to focus. I can't have on red zone and trying to be talk to you guys. So we're putting off the talkathon for now. We're going to talk some survivor strategy as well today. So that's what he said. Survivor pool strategy. Me and my boy are kind of teaming up on one, and we had a scare. He took the Giants this week. And he was already apologizing at halftime. They came back. I'm sure quite a few people had them against Arizona. Arizona is not a pushover. I don't know if there's a pushover in the league anymore. Not a whole lot of backseat quarterback from Monday Night Football. Sad about Nick Chubb. Just moment of silence. Couldn't be a worse situation for. I mean, the guy's a class act. He just puts his head down and does his job and averages 5 yards a rush and hits the hole, makes guys miss, runs hard, darts, cuts. Just one of the underrated, below the radar, hard hat, put in the work guys in the NFL. You see him go down like that. Terribly, terribly sad. Had one Carolina 4th and inches, and they hand the ball off 8 yards deep out of the shotgun. That one. And another one, 4th and inches, get on the ball, and they're, I don't know if they're trying to draw them off, but with the audibles and the blue 82, and the linemen are and then the guy flinches and gets a 5-yard penalty. Now you got to kick the field goal or punt. Get on the ball and say, set hut. Get on the freaking ball and say, set hut. And the linemen are in a sprinter's stance, and they're going to knock you on your butt, or at least going to get some surge. Every second that the linemen are in the 3-point stance is a second more that the defense gets momentum. I don't like it. Did you see FanDuel had a promotional, some big odds that you could bet if every single team kicked a field goal on Sunday? And they did. And apparently FanDuel loses $20 million because each team made a field goal on a prop bet. But I think they can afford it. Have you seen Las Vegas? Seen all those buildings? Skyscrapers? Seen all that? I think they can afford it. It's okay, FanDuel. You'll be okay. Go Beavs. Before we get into that's what he said, I think they're at Wazoo. Let's check the spread on that right now. So I'm going to go into a gambling segment. I'm going to give you my picks. Let's see where the Beavs are at. Boom. 3-point. We're up to 14th in the country. Wazoo's 21st. Oregon State favored by 3. Ugh. Let's see. Wazoo beat Colorado State. Pounded them. Beat Wisconsin and then pounded Northern Colorado. We know they got an offense. Probably still running the air raid. So we got on Fox, 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Hawaiian time. I'm not sure when I work. Might have to trade out. So we got the Beavs Saturday. This is September 20th. This is a Wednesday. Only did a short show yesterday. I had errands to run and wasn't feeling that good. So I'm pretty much bumping up the schedule. Usually Tuesday is That's What He Said. Do some fantasy studs and duds, but since I only did a short little show yesterday, I think we're going to go pretty much Tuesday's show today. Week 1. Where's my week 2? Maybe we're not doing fantasy sets and duds. Maybe do my we'll do the QBs tomorrow too. So tomorrow will be my picks with and without spreads, over under. And I do my JFK versus Uncle Richie versus Emalani the Great. This is Uncle Richie. This is the Spirit of Sports, brought to you by YouTube at Not Pods. It looks like a podcast, but in my mind, this is not a podcast. This is live internet radio streaming. Forgot my headphones today. That's okay. Don't really need them. Let's get into it. We're going to talk about the Fantasy Live crew. Cynthia Freeland, Adam Rank. I tried some. I went along with them on. So they first thing they did was they talked about who would be the top scoring quarterback. Everybody's wrong. I said Hurts. He was terrible. Cynthia said Mahomes. The boy said Hurts. Top scoring running back. CMC was right up there. Cynthia said Saquon, not close. The boys said James Cook, Derrick Henry. Top scoring receiver, Cynthia, JJ gave it to her. Chase St. Brown and Mike Evans for the boys. I had Tyreek, all negatives. Waiver wire hot sauce, Adam Rank had Tyler Algier as mild, kind of a dud. Had the spicy would be Gus or Hill, Justice Hill, Gus Edwards. Gus did have a touchdown, but not great numbers. 3 alarm waiver wire hot sauce, Sam Laporta, I think 2 catches. And El Diablo Puka, 15 catches, so that could be a double plus right there. So through all that, it's maybe 4 right and 9 wrong so far. Cynthia did a higher, lower. They set it all up. Now we're going to give you some fantasy studs, and you tell us if they're going to be higher or lower. Over, under, basically. And just arbitrarily, they picked Joe Burrow, Alexander Madison, and Michael Thomas. For no apparent reason. There's no context to it. And they only do the 3. They set this whole thing up. They take 4.5, 5 minutes segment. And they talk about 3 guys. Well, it makes no sense to me. So the first was Joe Burrow, 20.6 points. Over or under? And Cynthia said under, and she was right there. 6, 12. Yep. So she got that right. Alexander Madison under 13.1 got that right. She was 3 for 3 actually. Michael Thomas 14.5. So 3 for 3 there, I believe. Yeah. So that makes it about what? 8 and 9 or so. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just turns out they were six right and 14 wrong on, that was Tuesday. Cynthia said Seattle starts their Super Bowl run in week 2. I gave her a plus on that. Rank said Garrett Wilson will still have a good game. I gave him a plus because he had the 70-yard touchdown. Saved his game. Saved his week. And someone else said Saquon would have 200 yards. Not close and hurt. Moving on, they had a start sit. Daniel Jones to start, gave him a plus. Anthony Richardson must start. 2 touchdowns, but he went down too early. That had to give him a minus. Sit Dak. Start Breece Hall. Sit Dak was a plus. Start Breece Hall. Sit DeAndre Swift, big negative. 28 carries, 175 yards. Sit Rashad White, 7 yards and a touchdown, negative. Start James Cook. I think he had 100 yards. That's a positive. And sit Antonio Gibson. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 and 5 there. Bounce back weeks for T. Higgins, Devontae Adams, and Josh Allen all happened. They said to trade for Tyler Lockett. I'll take that. Trade for Najee Harris. That guy is just a shell of his former self. Trade away David Montgomery. Hurt. So I gave him a plus there. Then another start sit. Mike Williams start. Zay Flowers start. That's 2 positives. Good games. Smith and Jigba said start. Not. Zay Jones, not. Hayden Hurst, not. Laporta and Puka. Sit Schultz. Start Goddard. So on the week, the Fantasy Live crew, I had they talked about 57 players in the 3 shows I watch. So that's about 40, let's say 42 to 45 minutes with commercials. 40, 80, 120, 125, maybe even 130 minutes. And they talk about 57 people, players. That's 2.5 minutes a player, not counting commercials. It's got to be better, people. How do I talk to the producer? The NFL network. Who do you talk to about stuff like this? For one, their advice is terrible. For 2, way too many quips and little inside jokes and stories and haha, that was hilarious, Adam Rank. For 3, you're not talking near enough players. I also looked at the Fantasy Focus. They're just as bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They talked about 12 people they talked about in an hour-long show. They talked about 12. It's one guy every 3 minutes. Look at all that wasted time. 3 minutes, 180 seconds. You could talk about 30 players easy. 6 seconds a player. I think he'll do this. How about this? Okay, I'll take him. How about this versus that? I'll do that. I don't need to hear about you were in line at the store with your wife. I'll keep up on Fantasy Focus crew later. Kind of lackluster today. Sorry, kids. We're going to go to the good stuff, though. JFK versus Uncle Richie versus Emalani the Great. Week 2. So JFK is a 50-cent piece that every game I look at the game and I toss the coin, and heads is home and tails is the visitors. JFK went 7-9 this week. Emalani went 4-12. I went 10-6. And I had a chance to win my pool if Carolina would have won. So 10-6 last week, 10-6 this week on the straight up. Last week versus the spread, I went 11-5. So do the math. I would be up 1,100 minus 550. So I'd be up $550 from week 1. I'm just saying if I bet 100 a game. Week 2, 10-4-2. So it'd be 1,000 minus 440. So I'm up $1,000. If you follow me, you're up $1,000 in 2 weeks. Over under this week, not so good, 5 and 11. So we will get into tomorrow. I'll give you my next week's picks. I already did the JFK. I got to get Emelani's tonight. Did all my over-unders and the spreads. See if I can keep that going. Doing pretty good against the spread. 10 wins versus the spread in the first 2 weeks. What else we got? You know, one of my favorites and where the big money is. Let's talk Survivor Pool. So I went Washington week 1, a little bit of a scare. Then I went Buffalo week 2. My friend went Giants. We both went Washington week 1. We both thought about Minnesota. He had Minnesota and he switched in week 1 when they lost to Tampa. Tampa's 2-0. Atlanta's 2-0. New Orleans is 2-0. First time since 2002 when the divisions originally were made. The 3 teams in the NFC South are all 2-0. And we thought that division was going to be a joke. And they're 2-0. 3 teams. Tampa Bay, what's going on? So I've used up Washington and Buffalo. My boy used up Washington and the Giants. Looking at week 3. And this was in the preseason. I was looking at Buffalo at Washington, but I used them Jacksonville at home for Houston. Baltimore at home for Indy. Dallas at Arizona. Pittsburgh at Vegas. And Philly at Tampa. I don't think I want to touch Philly. I don't think I want to touch Pittsburgh. Dallas is a big possibility, but you want to save them. I kind of like Jacksonville, but can you trust them? This is a $100 buy-in with 25 to 250 people. Talking $25,000. 23,000 and 2,000 to charity. That's what I'm looking at. I'm going to have to call my boy E, talk it out. I think I'll do that as soon as we're done here. I like that. Baltimore at home for Indy. Kind of like that. My preseason pool, I had Dallas this week, Baltimore in week 8. So I tried to play everybody who was playing Zona, Tampa, and Houston. But Tampa is for sure not a pushover. Unless, I don't know, would they beat Minnesota and Chicago, 2 struggling teams that might not be very good. It's week 2, man. Sometimes even through week 2 is still a liar. So I'll probably go Dallas or Jacksonville or Baltimore would be my choices. Maybe Seattle against Carolina. Ooh, Seattle's good. Kind of like that. Early in the season, I like to use the teams that maybe not as good. And if I go down, oh well, but you can save. I'd really actually like Seattle, I think. So we'll go over my picks tomorrow. I'll have some more, look at some fantasy football stuff. Studs and duds. Not sure where I put that. I had a list. A lot of studs. A lot of fantasy studs this week. Enough to go around for sure. Oh, there we are. I know where it is. Want to hear some fantasy studs this week? Nope. Kirk Cousins, 4 touchdowns, 364. Jefferson, 11 catches, 159 yards. Jordan Love, 3 touchdowns, no picks. T. Higgins, 8 for 89 and 2 TDs. Geno, 328 yards, 2 touchdowns. Justin Herbert, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns. By the way, what they've scored almost 60 points. I think they've scored 61 points. The Chargers. This is a head scratcher. No turnovers, score 61 points. They're 0-2 with the defensive coach. Terrible culture. Their culture is blowing leads, having kicking woes, dumb penalties, clock management, game management issues, etc., etc., etc. It's been a long time. Long time coming. You'd like sigh. Tyler Lockett, 2 touchdowns. DJ Moore had 104 yards for that pretty struggling Chicago offense. Mike Evans, 6 catches, 171 yards and a touchdown. Daniel Jones, 321 yards passing and 3 total touchdowns. Sneaky good. James Conner broke the century mark with a touchdown, 106 yards. Sam Howell, 299 yards and 2 touchdowns. Russ had 300 yards, 308, 3 touchdowns, 1 costly pick, 56 rushing yards. Raheem Mostert, 121 yards and 2 touchdowns. DeAndre Swift, 175 yards and a touchdown. Devontae Smith, 131 yards receiving on 4 catches and a touchdown. James Cook, 123 yards rushing. Bijan Robinson, 124 yards rushing. Telling you, a lot of studs. Jared Goff, 323 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Christian Kirk, 110 yards receiving. Zach Moss, in his first work with the Colts, 88 yards and a touchdown on the ground with 18 carries. CJ Stroud, 384 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nico Collins, 146 yards receiving on 7 receptions and a touchdown. CMC with 20 carries, 116 yards and a touchdown. Kyron Williams, 2 total TDs, might be a sell high on that guy. CeeDee Lamb, 11 catches, 143 yards. Brian Robinson, 2 rushing touchdowns with 87 yards. And Mims, 2 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown. Those are the fantasy studs from week 2. Long list. This is the list you want to stay off and hope you don't own them. I'm going to tell you how many I do. Alexander Madison, 8 rushes, 28 yards. What are you doing there? A.J. Brown, 4 catches, 29 yards. I don't worry about him, but it kind of 2 duds in a row. Josh Dobbs, 2 catches for 30 yards in Green Bay. When do you drop this guy? Pitts. He's the Pitts, bro. 2 catches, 15 yards in Atlanta. Here's a what the F. Josh Jacobs, 9 carries, negative 2 yards for the overall rushing leader last year. Jamar Chase, 5 catches, 31 yards. That's 2 duds in a row. Jahmyr Gibbs, 7 rushes, 17 yards. What's going on there in Detroit? Maybe Goff throwing for 300 and your running backs running for 40 could be a reason why you lose a game like that. Set Hutt. You may have heard of Set Hutt. Joshua Kelly with Eckler out, 13 carries, 39 yards. D-Hop, 4 carries, 40 yards, or 4 catches. Justin Fields, 211 yards passing, 2 INTs, and no touchdowns. Khalil Herbert and the Bears in general. Khalil Herbert, 7 carries, 35 yards. Calvin Ridley, 2 catches for 32 yards after a big week 1. Damian Pierce, 15 carries for 31 yards. Figure it out, people. George Kittle, 3 catches for 30. Zach Wilson, 3 INTs. And I thought he might be okay. Breece Hall, 4 carries for 9 yards. And Judge Jerry Jeudy, 3 catches, 25 yards. And that is your fantasy duds for the week. And this has been Uncle Richie. That's what he said. Did a little bit of fantasy focus. Studs and duds of week 2. Did some survivor pool strategy. Keep that thing going, people. I'm going to call my boy Eric right now. I love you. I love myself. Try treat yourself better. Don't beat yourself up. If you don't love you, who is gonna love you? If you don't think you're awesome, who is gonna think you're awesome? So go out there, have a great rest of your day. I love you. It's been a pleasure. Aloha.